Hello, I'm Françoise Lamotte here in Switzerland.
And this is Dominik Mugli in the San Francisco Bay Area. Our podcast, The Digital Edge, brings our perspectives on the digital revolution with a cutting edge angle. Our topic for today: should digital transformation be outsourced? Francois, your thoughts?
My thoughts would be 100% no, but I'm trying to be a bit more nuanced. Because in reality, IT can be outsourced. We've seen, many organizations that outsource IT or even back office to providers, whether it's IBM or Accenture. I mean, I think the maintenance and the running of operation can be outsourced. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's done. And sometimes, there are true efficiency gains for the organizations. But when we talk about transformation, I feel that it's very connected to the core business. It has to be hand in hand with the, internal processes, the people, the culture, and I would think it's really hard to have, others leading the transformation. Although also in that space, obviously you have consultant that can help with, shaping the vision, managing the program, etc. But in a sense, I would not recommend to outsource it all for an organization. What is your view or your experience on that?
Yeah, it's a really double-edged sword to me, right? I have experience being on the client side of digital transformation and also on the service provider side of doing that. And from both perspectives, it's really something I think an organization needs to look at with great care, because the ownership of digital transformation must reside within the organization, right? This is not something that you can just go write a check and have somebody, hey, go build it for me. I'll see you in 2 or 3 or 5 years, and we'll be all done, right? I strongly believe, right, that digital transformation and being able to leverage technology effectively has to be part of the core business in order to be competitive in an industry. And from what I haven't worked in all industries, but from what I see, this is like a huge enabler for the organizations that can get this right. So this needs to be done with great care.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, when you outsource, there are pros and cons. One is access to latest technologies, access to competencies that you might not have
Mhm.
internally, access to good tools and methods. Usually, they have very efficient ways to manage the business. So I think those aspects can be of value. Um, but on the other side, I feel that it's like, you know, um, disconnected the change of your organization from its reality. And uh, I think we've discussed this before in other episodes, the fact that the hardest part in digital transformation is the change management. It's
Mhm.
about bringing people on board. It's about training people to new ways of working. It's about changing the culture. And that, I think it's an effort that needs to be driven from inside rather than outsourcing. What's your view?
Yeah, I think so too. From my experience in working in outsourced environments, there's a path that I recommend for executing a digital transformation. Right, it's starting out with business needs, right? And only the organization knows what it needs internally, right? Based on the information that's available. Now you can go and get third party support for getting industry perspectives and what the competition does and so forth, right? But that still goes in the direction of understanding your core business and needs. The second piece, which is often more the opportunity for outsourced or external help, is finding opportunities where to grow into and where to invest, right? And so it's between these two topics, right? On the one hand, hey, do we know what our challenges are, our opportunities on the one side, and what's even possible on the other side, right? Of like, hey, if we had unlimited money, time, resources, what could we even do with our business and digital transformation, right? But even if you get that external help, making sure that this is understood and incorporated into the organization is huge, because I've seen it more often than not that you hire experts from externally, they come in, there's a big whirlwind excitement and joy of getting expert help. But once the PowerPoint presentation slides are delivered, reviewed, and agreed upon, the third party disappears, and there's almost little organizational shift at that point, right? Because as you mentioned, the organization has to then level up and build capability in order to form a strategy and even build an execution that can last and transform the business. And that's what's oftentimes very, very difficult to do, to find that starting point and then jointly level up with the outsourced portion and raise the level of the business in the process.
Mhm. And I'm thinking, if we, because digital transformation has been going on for over 20 years, even more, I feel that in the early days, maybe 20 years ago, there was this clear need of having strong leadership from inside. And that's where we saw the appointments of chief digital officers in many organizations, someone that would gather everybody around that vision, that would take the leadership and in a way represent that digital transformation. Now I'm thinking maybe this role has a bit vanished, or is less formal in the organization. I think that part of evangelization to educate about digital transformation is a bit less needed, and I feel that this internal leadership has moved more or less to IT. I mean, still internal, but in a different shape. Is that what you observe as well?
Uh, I think the technology organizations definitely have evolved from a pure technology provider standpoint, right? There has been an increased desire to expand proximity to the business functions, and for the basic need of understanding what the organization can contribute, right? And I think this is a really good way also, because what I've seen is that in addition to the technologists leveling up to the business function and the users, if you will, right? The customers that they have, there's also an increased understanding from the business side over time to understand what it takes to implement technology, to change business processes, right? I've seen uh, a lot more understanding of the complexities involved oftentimes to implement the solution, right? Versus back in the day where it was like, why is my system not there yet? How hard can it be? Because it's perceived as, hey, I can download an app to my phone in 10 seconds and it's functional. And why can't my business application move that fast as well, right? So I think the understanding through experience has grown a lot in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I think there are more internal competencies that require maybe less of, consulting or resorting to external providers. And what I observe now in very large projects of digital transformation, very often the external consultants are more like body shops, adding more people to the project because there is a need of capacity. And also, I would say, the PMO aspect, project management, keeping things on track and managing the governance of the project. But maybe less so in terms of, the leadership, the vision, and the business strategy of digital transformation. I mean, that's my perception, at least.
Yes, I see the same thing where organizations just are getting better at doing this and doing so sustainably, right? Where in the past it used to be more on a per project basis, right? You go and get some help and figure out what to do. And I think many organizations have recognized to build up that internal capability. And like you said, staff it up for scaling solutions, technical expertise specifically, but not to the point where, you know, you're effectively clueless and you just have to hand it off and outsource your brain, if you will, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's a good trend to build that expertise in house to have uh, good conversations with the third parties as well and be very, very targeted and cost effective also with outsourced services.
Yeah. So maybe just to conclude, I think this echoes as well another podcast we had about talents for digital transformation, and I think it just reinforces the fact that digital transformation needs to be led internally, and you need to build, attract, and retain digital talents that will be critical for leading that effort. That would be, a segue to what we said before.
Yep, I would agree.
Any last word on that topic, Dominic?
Uh, keep your digital transformation on track. Be deliberate about how you use your resources, how you prioritize, and how you get external help, and make use of external help where needed to ensure a successful digital transformation.
Thank you so much, Dominic, for the discussion. Super interesting as always. And next time we'll be talking about how to build a data-driven culture. Thank
Oh,
you very
another
much.
interesting one.
Bye
Thanks for
bye.
watching. See you next time.